Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this explosive breakdown of one of the most talked about moments in daytime television history. The day Josh Holloway, the rugged heartthrob from Lost, stormed off the set of the Kelly Clarkson Show in a blaze of fury that left everyone, including host Kelly Clarkson herself, utterly speechless. Picture this: it's a bright, bustling morning in the heart of Los Angeles, the studio lights humming with that familiar energy of celebrity chatter and applause, as the audience settles in for what was billed as a light-hearted episode featuring Hollywood heavyweights like Elizabeth Banks and a musical twist from Randy Rainbow. But oh, how quickly the script flipped. Josh Holloway, stepping out in his signature casual cool ensemble-fitted black button-down that hugged his still impeccable physique from those island survival days, paired with jeans that screamed effortless southern charm, strides onto the stage with a grin that's equal parts charismatic arrogant seasoned pro. Kelly, ever the powerhouse in her vibrant red blouse that pops against the colorful set, kicks things off with her infectious Kelly Oak, belting out "I Got a New One" with that raw, soulful voice that could melt steel beams. The crowd is electric, clapping along, feeling that post-pandemic joy of live entertainment back in full swing. As the performance wraps, Kelly transitions seamlessly, her eyes sparkling with the genuine curiosity she brings to every guest, introducing Josh as the man who's trading tropical mysteries for dusty highways in his new HBO Max series, Dust, a gritty tale of 1970s crime and redemption where he plays a wheelman with a shadowy past. The applause swells again, fans and the audience holding up signs that read "Saw Your Forever" and "Duster Drives Us Wild," a testament to Holloway's enduring appeal 2 decades after Lost redefined water cooler TV. Josh settles into the plush interview chair, crossing his legs with that easy confidence, and for the first few minutes, it's pure magic. Kelly dives right in, praising his evolution from the sarcastic conman Sawyer forward to this brooding anti-hero in Duster, asking about the stunts of the high-speed chases through the Mojave Desert that had him behind the wheel of vintage muscle cars, feeling the wind whip through his hair as cameras rolled at 80 miles an hour. He laughs, that deep, rumbling chuckle that echoes back to his Dharma Initiative days, recounting a hilarious near-miss where a tire blew out mid-scene, forcing the crew to improvise with duct tape and sheer grit. "Kelly, let me tell you," he says, leaning forward with animated hands, "nothing bonds a cast like staring down a sandstorm together. It's like Lost all over again, but with more horsepower and less polar bears." The audience erupts in laughter, Kelly nodding vigorously, her own stories bubbling up about her music video shoots where she'd belt ballads between takes of chaotic dance numbers. It's this effortless banter that makes the Kelly Clarkson Show a genuine unscripted, unpretentious, a far cry from the polished facades of late-night giants. But beneath the surface, there's a subtle undercurrent, a tension that's been brewing in Hollywood for months, whispers of industry frustrations over streaming deals, actor pay in the age of algorithms, and the relentless churn of content that chews up stars and spits them out. Josh, fresh off a Yellowstone cameo that reignited his fanbase, has been vocal in quiet interviews about the grind, the way prestige TV dangles Oscars but delivers residuals that barely cover gas for your vintage Mustang. Kelly, no stranger to the entertainment meat grinder herself, from American Idol pressures to her messy divorce splashed across tabloids, picks up on it, her question landing like a gentle probe. "Josh, you've been in this game longer than most. How do you keep the fire lit when the system's stacked against the artists?" It's meant as camaraderie, a nod to shared battles, but in Josh's eyes, something shifts, a flicker of weariness, perhaps, or the weight of 1,000 unread emails from agents haggling over back-end points. He pauses, sips his water, and responds with measured candor, "Kelly, it's a racket. We pour our souls into these roles, risk our bodies on set, and then the execs in their ivory towers decide if we're worth a crumb. Duster, it's gold, but fighting for fair shakes, that's the real drama." The crowd murmurs in agreement, a few claps here and there, but Kelly, ever the optimist, tries to pivot with humor. "Well, at least you've got that Sawyer smirk to charm your way through negotiations." Laughter ripples again, but Josh's smile doesn't quite reach his eyes this time. What starts as a spark innocent enough, a deeper dive into the weeds of Hollywood economics ignites slowly, like dry tinder meeting a careless match. "Kelly, drawing from her own advocacy for mental health and fair treatment in music, presses gently, but isn't there power in the collective? Unions, strike. Didn't that change things post-SAG-AFTRA? Josh nods, but his voice hardens. Sure, on paper, but when your project's greenlit by a board that cares more about quarterly reports than quality, it's all smoke. The air thickens, the band's soft underscore fading into awkward silence as the audience senses the shift from fluff to friction. Elizabeth Banks, waiting in the wings for her segment on The Better Sister, exchanges a quick glance with producers offstage, while Randy Rainbow's satirical prep notes sit forgotten on a nearby table. This isn't the promo spot anyone scripted. This is raw, unfiltered truth serum bubbling up in a space usually reserved for feel-good anecdotes and sponsored plugs. As Josh elaborates, his southern drawl sharpening with each word, I've seen co-stars blackballed for speaking up. Kelly, good folks, talented as hell, reduced to commercials because they dared ask for their due. The host's expression evolves from empathetic listener to engaged debater. Kelly, with her background in Nashville's cutthroat country scene, counters thoughtfully, I get it, Josh, I do. But isn't visibility the key? Shows like this, platforms we amplify voices. Maybe that's the real leverage. It's a fair point, one rooted in her own rise from idol underdog to talk show titan. But to Josh, it lands like a velvet-gloved dismissal, the implication that celebrity chit-chat trumps the trenches of contract law. His jaw sets, that famous intensity from Colony's resistance fighter surfacing, and he leans in closer. Visibility without equity is just a prettier cage. Kelly, you know that better than most. The studio, once a symphony of cheers, now holds its breath, the weight of unspoken industry scars hanging heavy in the recycled air. And just like that, the polite facade cracks, setting the stage for the eruption that's about to make headlines from Burbank to Bangkok. This isn't merely an interview gone awry, it's a microcosm of the entertainment world's fault lines, where charm collides with critique, and one man's breaking point becomes the internet's breaking news. As the cameras roll on, capturing every micro-expression of the subtle furrow in Kelly's brow, the steely resolve in Josh's gaze, the world outside waits, oblivious, for the clip that will shatter the fourth wall and send social media into a frenzy. But inside, the storm is just gathering force, thunder rumbling in the distance of what was supposed to be a sunny afternoon slot. Little do they know, this clash will redefine talk show tropes, turning a routine guest spot into a viral vortex of opinions, op-eds, and endless hot takes. Stay tuned, because we're only scratching the surface of this seismic showdown. The tension escalates like a plot twist in one of Josh's own thrillers, where the hero's ally suddenly reveals a hidden agenda, and suddenly, the cozy confines of the Kelly Clarkson Show feel more like a pressure cooker than a chatty living room. Kelly, recovering her composure with that trademark resiliency honed from years of belting power anthems through personal tempests, tries to steer the ship back to calmer waters, her voice warm but probing. Josh, you're preaching to the choir here. I've walked off my share of sets when things felt off. I remember that idol fallout. But Duster sounds like your rebellion on screen. Tell us more about channeling that frustration into the character. It's a masterful redirect, blending empathy with promotion, the kind of deft footwork that's kept her show topping Nielsen charts for seasons. The audience leans in, hungry for the insider scoop on HBO Max's latest, a series blending Tarantino-esque flair with the dusty noir of 1970s outlaws, where Holloway's Jim Ellis is a getaway driver haunted by Vietnam ghosts and double crosses that hit harder than a .45 slug. Josh exhales, rubbing his chin in the thoughtful saw your way, and for a beat, it seems the waters might smooth as he dives into the role, describing the meticulous prep with real-life wheelman consultants, the way he'd burn rubber on abandoned airstrips under a relentless Nevada sun, sweat mixing with fake blood from a botched heist scene that left him with a real scar on his forearm. It's cathartic, you know? He admits, rolling up his sleeve to show the jagged line, eliciting ooze from the crowd. Driving fast, leaving it all behind, that's the dream in this business too. Kelly lights up, sharing a parallel from her own adrenaline rushes. Girl, yes, recording since you been gone. I screamed my lungs out in that booth. Walked out feeling like I'd outrun my ex's drama. Laughter blooms anew, the band slipping in a playful guitar riff to underscore the levity, and for a glorious moment, harmony reigns. But harmony in Hollywood is fragile as a first ad schedule, and the pivot back to pay equity sneaks in like an uninvited extra. It starts innocently and a fan-submitted question flashed on the overhead screen, curated by producers to keep things interactive. Josh, as Sawyer, you charmed the world. How's Duster's bad boy different? And what's the pay like for anti-heroes these days? The crowd chuckles at the cheeky wage nod, but Josh's expression darkens, the question striking a raw nerve amid ongoing streamer battles where actors fight for transparency and back-end deals. He sets his jaw, eyes locking with Kelly's as if she's the proxy for the system. Pay? Let's talk real. On Lost, we busted our asses for 6 seasons, built a phenomenon. And residuals? A joke. Duster's the Samia prestige label, but the fine print screws the talent. Kelly, sensing the minefield, interjects with her signature blend of heart and hustle. But Josh, that's why voices like yours matter. This show exists to call it out. I've had musicians on crying over Spotify pennies. We amplify, we fight back. Her words are sincere, drawn from her own lawsuits against labels for underpayment. But to Josh, amplified from her position of late morning stability, it rings hollow, a pep talk from the winner's circle. Amplify. He retorts, voice rising like a revving engine. Kelly, with all due respect, from where you're sitting, it's easy to say, try feeding a family on exposure points while the Zuckerbergs cash in billions. The studio gasps collectively, a hush falling as thick as stage fog. Elizabeth Banks shifting uncomfortably in her green room, scrolling her phone for damage control notes. Kelly's cheeks flush not with anger, but that fighter's fire she's channeled into hits like Strandra, and she leans forward, microphone gripped like a lifeline. Whoa, hold up, I'm not sitting pretty. I clawed my way here from a Texas trailer park, dodging vultures who wanted to own my voice. If anyone's fighting the system, it's survivors like us. But storming off won't fix contracts. The storming off slips out as a hypothetical, a nod to classic diva lore, but it lands like a gauntlet, implying his complaints are just posturing. Josh's eyes narrow, that intense gaze from Mission Impossible's infiltrator mode kicking in, and he stands halfway out of his chair, voice steady but laced with steel. Hypothetical, Kelly, I've walked more sets than you've hosted episodes when execs treat us like props. This isn't venting, it's the truth you gloss over with feel-good segments. The band freezes mid-note, the audience frozen in rapt shock, phones discreetly raised to capture what feels like the unmaking of a friendship in real time. Producers signal frantically from the control booth, hearts pounding as live feeds threaten to cut to commercial. But Kelly, true to her unfiltered ethos, doesn't back down. Gloss over, my divorce was tabloid fodder because I spoke up. Don't lecture me on gloss. It's here, in this electric standoff, that the personal bleeds into the professional, two icons colliding not over scripts but survival scars. Josh, drawing from his own journey from California surfer dude to overnight Lost sensation, then the post-fame scramble through Colony's dystopia and Yellowstone's rugged plains, feels the sting of being reduced to a complainer, his valid gripes dismissed as ingratitude. Kelly, the eternal underdog turned empire builder, hears echoes of her own critics who called her too emotional for boardrooms. The clash isn't just words, it's worlds. His gritty indie grind versus her pop culture juggernaut boiling over in a space meant for harmony. As Josh's hand tightens on the armrest, knuckles widening, the air crackles with unspoken histories. His quiet support for SAG strikes while shooting in remote locations, her platforming union leaders between Kelly Oak covers. But in the heat, nuance evaporates, replaced by the raw pulse of confrontation. The crowd, a mix of die-hard fans and Holloway tees and Clarkson superfans clutching Grammy merch, whispers feverishly, some nodding at Josh's fire, others defending Kelly's grit. Offstage, Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers, prepped for their epic universe bit, peek from the wings, jaws dropped at the unscripted theater unfolding. This moment, captured in unflinching 4K, will later spawn memes, think pieces, and a surge in Duster streams, but right now, it's pure, unadulterated chaos, the kind that reminds us why we watch, for the humanity beneath the glamour. And as Josh rises fully, chair scraping against the polished floor like a bad omen. The precipice looms, the walk-off no longer hypothetical but hurtling toward inevitability, a viral footnote in talk show lore that's about to etch itself in eternity. In the heartbeat of stunned silence that follows Kelly's pointed retort, Josh Holloway fully uncorks the bottled frustration of a career spent dodging typecasts and deal-breakers, his voice booming with the authority of a man who's survived plane crashes on screen and paid disputes off it, declaring, "If this platform's so mighty, why does it take a walk-off to make him listen?" The words hang like smoke from a backfired engine, the audience erupting into a cacophony of gasps, cheers, and scattered boos, a polarized symphony reflecting the divided loyalties in the room. Kelly, her eyes wide with a mix of hurt and defiance, reaches out instinctively, palm up in that universal gesture of "let's pause," but Josh is already in motion, his lanky frame uncoiling like a spring-loaded trap as he pivots toward the exit ramp, the one tucked discreetly behind the host's desk for quick changes but now serving as his dramatic egress. The studio lights catch the determination etched on his fascia, that chiseled jaw from countless close-ups, now clenched in quiet rebellion while his boots thud against the stage with purposeful strides, each step echoing like a punctuation mark on his unfinished sentence. "Josh, let's talk this out," Kelly calls after him, her voice cracking with genuine plea, the microphone amplifying her vulnerability as she half rises from her seat, red blouse swirling like a matador's cape. But he doesn't stop, doesn't glance back, his broad shoulders cutting through the haze of confetti machines that had earlier celebrated the show's lighter segments, now frozen in mid-spew like surreal confetti casualties. The crowd surges to its feet, a wave of energy that's equal parts shock and solidarity, some chanting "Josh, Josh," in homage to his underdog appeal, others murmuring support for Kelly with cries of "Stay strong, girl." As if this were a live WWE heel turn, producers scramble in the booth, fingers hovering over the fade-to-black button, sweat beading under studio collars as ratings radar pings with the promise of gold or lawsuit. Elizabeth Banks, slipping onto the fringes with her poised poise, freezes mid-entrance, script in hand for the Better Sister promo, her expression a masterclass in Hollywood poker face masking the "oh crap" internally churning. Randy Rainbow, Mick at the ready for his satirical takedown of political absurdities, lowers it slowly, the irony not lost that this unscripted satire is stealing his thunder. As Josh reaches the edge of the illuminated stage, the darkness beyond swallowing him like a bad guy's getaway, he pauses just on Sia for a final volley over his shoulder. "Thanks for the spotlight, Kelly, maybe use it to light the way for the rest of us." It's a mic drop zinger, laced with that wry Sawyer sarcasm, delivered without venom but with enough edge to slice through the awkward applause that trickles in its wake. Then, with a nod to the fans closest to the ramp of those wide-eyed devotees who followed him from Oceanic Flight 815 to Dusty Duster backroads, so he vanishes into the wings, the door swinging shut with a resonant click that reverberates like the final note of a blues riff. The set, moments ago alive with banter, now feels cavernous, Kelly sinking back into her chair with a shaky exhale, her laugh a half nervous, half genuine breaking the ice. "Well, folks, that's why we lived Van Ever a dull moment." The audience responds with polite chuckles, but the energy is irrevocably altered, the air thick with the aftershocks of authenticity unchecked. Cameras pan to capture the fallout, Kelly's band exchanging wide-eyed glances, the Turrisdale duo in the shadows tuning guitars with feigned nonchalance ahead of their growing pains performance, and cybersecurity expert prepping her senior safety tips now utterly upstaged. Off-mic whispers from crew filter through a "did we get that?" roll tape. As the control room buzzes with crisis mode, execs dialing agents faster than a speed dial scam. Outside, in the green-lit corridors of NBC's sprawling complex, Josh's team awaits, publicist at the ready with a statement draft. Creative differences amplified. Josh appreciates Kelly's platform and looks forward to future chats. But in the moment, as he strides down the hall, pulse thundering like the V8 in Duster's hero car, there's no regret, only release, the kind that comes from finally voicing the invisible weights that stars carry under spotlights.